let's go do our ForgeBox module of the week. This one is a old one, but a good one. I say old. It's not actually that old, but we've covered it before. And it is CBFS, which stands for ColdBox. I don't know. File system? That's what I always think, but it could be. I think they call it something different. They call it file storages.
Oh, really?
Yes. ColdBox file storages.
I don't really care for CB standing for ColdBox either, because we have other things like command box that you could totally want to use that module in. Now the CB also could stand for command box. That's really more of a coincidence.
Or content box, or
when Luis started the kind of the CB prefix, that was way back in the day when ColdBox was literally like our only project, and so it was kind of just like CB blah. I never really cared for it. I never put CB in front of my project names, but that was just me. Anyway, what I like is when someone comes on Slack and they're like, I have a question about CB, and we're like, which one? We have a few of those.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a naming, like spring cleaning or something. We'll rename all the CB stuff. But it's fun to say CB everywhere.
We never will. Those names are locked in for all eternity.
So now to tell you about CBFS. So it has been released 1.0 and some few further patches. And basically what it gives you is a provider-based way to access files. So when you're doing local development, you probably are just interacting right with your file system on your computer. But when you get to production, you want it to interact with like an S3 bucket. And then your tests, you don't want it to do anything because that's just going to slow you down. Well, 3 providers come out of the box with CBFS. A local provider interacting with a local file system, a RAM provider, which is great for those tests because you can still make sure that something got written without having to write it to the file system, and an S3 compatible provider. That's most of what most of us need, but also you can contribute your own providers and have it interact with the CBFS API. So I'm excited to use this every time I need to do anything with files and forget all of the things about file read and write that I've tried to learn over the years.
The abstraction is really useful because I worked with some clients that had really heavy dependencies in their app on, like in one case, it was Azure's file blob storage or something. It was like an SH kind of thing, but it was Microsoft Azure. But their app was so, married to it that they couldn't even think about how they would possibly run the app locally on their machines. They're like, no, we're going to have to run it inside of Kubernetes, in Azure, because it's the only place we can access the file storage stuff. But an abstraction like this, to be able to say, well, on local development, just point to a folder, would be a really good solution to that. And then once you go to staging and production, you can, switch out the providers behind the scenes without changing the code in the application, obviously.
Exactly. So if you've used anything like CB mail services, this is very similar. CBQ does something like this. This provider-based way of changing per environment is very common and very powerful. And then just a reminder, the S3 provider isn't just for Amazon S3, but that's any S3 compatible storage. So like Brad was saying, Microsoft has their own. I know Backblaze has one.
Like DigitalOcean has their version of S3, which I believe implements the exact same API. So you can point to, and it should, quote, just work.
Yep. And so you don't need to create a provider for any of those that are S3 compatible. You can just use the S3 provider, put in your credentials, and be off to the races. So that's CBFS, now officially released in 1.0. So congratulations to the team that worked on that.
I know it's been a long time coming.
It has been. And I know, I hope I don't miss anybody, but I know the 3 principal ones were Luis himself, John Clausen, and Grant Copley. So great job, guys, for working on that. And that is CBFS.
That was our ForgeBox module of the week, brought to you by Modernize or Die Podcast, CFML News Edition, proudly sponsored by Order Solutions. You can see the new episodes every week on cfmlnews.modernizeordie.io or on the Order Solutions YouTube channel.